Hey, this is Obelisk speaking, doing a One Piece chapter review. And this is chapter 1030, and is the imprints of all things. Ekenon, the whatever. Well, it's the impermanence of all things, whatever. And this is I guess this is a reference to Film Z with the ants and Baruch. And that's the cover page. And we start off pretty much with Apu and Drake, and it appears they stopped fighting and they're negotiating right now. And it also appears that we finally get to see the last numbers, and it appears to be one. Well, I don't know their numbers exactly, but they look. Well, the one in the middle looks more menacing than the other. This one, he looks funny. The one on the right with the horns, the way they are, and then you have this other guy here. And I'm not gonna lie, the numbers have been pretty disappointing. They've been pretty much getting one-shotted in all places, so I'm not expecting much from this. And pretty much what's happening with Apu, he's speaking the truth. He knows the Marines are hot on the tail, and he knows whoever wins isn't gonna be so off good once the Marines go. So who's gonna protect the winner? Pretty much that's what happened. And pretty much Apu says none of them have any stake on this or anything like that. Drake just wants to go back to the Marines, and Apu just wants to get out of there. So Apu is not that really loyal. And it's really strange that these numbers aren't loyal either too. Why are they loyal to Apu? I'm confused here. Why are they loyal to him? It doesn't make sense. So he's kind of right. And there's going to be a huge point of contention in this arc as to what's going to happen after the victor is declared with the Marines en route, potentially an admiral. Who's gonna step in and be able to stop an admiral? Which is probably gonna be Luffy, the winner, obviously. So then we move on to the most disappointing part of this chapter, and the reason why this arc cannot be taken seriously at all, or any of the arcs, because there is no true sense of danger or any sense of consequence in this. Sadly, yeah, there is no sense of consequence in the series. Sadly, this is the sad part about it. And we see Kinemon's torso appears to be alive somehow, and it is also bleeding. Kudos to Usopp immediately recognizing it. It's his torso, his bottom half, and he's also bleeding a lot. Usopp makes a hint of this. And how is this happening? I simply do not understand. But he somehow is alive, which is very, very disappointing. After being his head should have been crushed. Like, he should have his brain should have been made into like pudding, but somehow is alive and his torso is moving. Unclear. And this is not, and appears the torso wants. What is good is about Usopp is separating from Nami and Otama. So that means potentially Usopp is going to have his 1v1 against someone. I don't know who exactly, but against someone it is. And then we go back to where Kinemon is, his other half of his torso is. And it appears Kinemon is also confused about this. So he makes a deduction that this has to be Law's power, and Law didn't fully reconnect them. And when Kaido pierced him, he got disconnected. This has not been how Law's powers work. Period. Once he reconnects you, you're fully reconnected. So this to me is kind of ridiculous. And it appears Kiko is pretty much dying and he wants them to rescue her. And what is the most disappointing thing about this is, how is this dude alive? Kanjiro is still alive somehow. This is just ridiculous. Kanjiro had a proper death. He accepted his death when Kinemon killed him. He stated that it would be better for him to die by the hands of a friend, even if it was acting. Oda just destroyed all that. Period. None of the Scavengers are going to die at the end of the series. I'm potentially thinking none of them are. Even though we see a pool of blood behind Kinemon and a sword behind him, his bottom half is somehow moving, and it appears the other big disappointment about this, Orochi is giving Kanjiro orders, and Kanjiro apparently with his last breath is now drawing some sort of specter, the Kazebun. The Kazebun. It looks like a ghostly specter or something like that. I think this has to do with Japanese lore, and I'm not really familiar with it, so it is something to do with that. The disappointing part is, how are they still alive? Especially Kinemon. Kinemon had his head he had an attack with Conqueror's Haki infused into it. Fold him and literally fold him. He should be dead, but alive. Kanjuro should be dead, but somehow alive. Kiko, she got stabbed, but I'm not gonna be honest. No one's gonna die of stab wound in this story. And he creates a specter that's pretty much burning everything and phasing through walls, apparently, which is impressive, maybe. And we go back to I guess impressive. Now let's ignore that because that is super disappointing. That is just atrocious, really bad, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. And then we go back to Momonosuke, and Momonosuke appears to be trying to summon little clouds and just bunching them up together. So he's getting better at summoning clouds. That's the important thing here. And we see it's crumbling even more by the bottom part. So that's that. The castle now sea of flames. And we see what's happening. Marco's apparently fighting. Robin and Baruch fighting. And we also see CP0 has finally decided to stand up. They're not sitting anymore. They've actually stand up. We don't see a background, so we don't know where they are. But we know their target, and that's Robin. And then we see Izo, Marco. Marco's the most interesting. Izo is also pretty interesting. And then we see that Sanji has returned back to fighting. And I wonder why this is the case. Because he was fleeing, because he was conflicted with his body. And now he's fighting again. Then we see it appears that Kaido did another blast breath. He pulled another Brawly. And Luffy's doing some sort of palm strike here. With, it appears, Conqueror's Haki infused. And Zoro appears to be blocking an attack from non-hybrid King. Like, King is no longer hybrid form. So that's happening. Then we go back to Orochi. And Orochi just wants to bail. He doesn't care about this anymore. Pretty much. He wants to bail. And he's waiting for Fukurokuju to helicopter him out. And then we see the queen of the show, Yamato. And Yamato's pretty much stating that she probably is not going to have enough time to head to the explosives. That's what she's deducing. And then we see something else, which is it potentially hints at something else happening. Yamato has to go to a certain place. certain place, but someone is standing, a current battle is obstructing her way, and Yamato notices an Ikoko sovereign, and we see Kid's mecha getting dismantled. So I'm really hoping that Yamato helps out Trafalgar Law and Kid in the battle versus Big Mom. And then we get to the potentially the better part of the chapter, but also some plot holes may be happening here. So Kid tanked an Ikoko Sovereign. Well, he didn't. His mecha did most of the tanking, to be honest here. But he still took damage. And Kid starts monologuing, and it's pretty much goes like, "Hey Trafalgar, have your powers awakened? I'm still not used to it. I'll only do it if I'm on my last leg. But the stamina consumption is extreme, and it ensures I'll lose the battle." So pretty much this confirms that both Kid and Law have an awakening. Same true for me. But we're not getting anywhere like this. Use your last resort to back me up. So pretty much they understand they can't 1v1 Big Mom. They need to work as a team. And this to me that they're pulling their most powerful attacks to even try to hurt her so far shows that Luffy is pretty much in a league of his own. Luffy has so far left the supernovas behind that is ridiculous. And Luffy's not even using awakening. Like, Law and Kid have a serious catching up to do. Because they're pretty much using their final moves here. They're stating after this, they got nothing. They potentially could use it one more time, but that's about it. They're pretty much done for after this. And this is all to barely damage her. So Law does he does, I think, Kurum anesthesia. I like Law's attack because he does like a small, it looks like a galaxy. And he coats his sword with it. And it goes through Big Mom. The penetration does nothing on its own. Instead, Kurum creates a shockwave from within. So Big Mom's he gets stabbed through the neck, but apparently it does no damage. But Big Mom does notice this, and it's not really explained what it does. So it appears to do more internal damage. So that's what it does, but it's not explained in detail. Shockwave, and he's shocking Big Mom, and Big Mom, for the first time, is spewing blood from her mouth, and it appears that the homies, her Napoleon and Prometheus, get separated, get pushed out. So this attack is it produces a pretty big shockwave, and Big Mom did receive some damage, but not a lot, so Big Mom appears to be angry about this. And then Kid comes with his awakening, and he's here have some magnetism, a sign. So it looks like he touches Big Mom, and Napoleon gets stuck to Big Mom. And pretty much every piece of metal is, but I don't see how this is gonna do damage to her unless it's coated with armament haki. But then again, we don't know exactly what Law is attacked it. Because remember, Law is probably doing some internal changes. Because Law's sword is still inside Big Mom. No, wait. Once he assigned is no longer in, he pulls it out. Because when the shockwaves happen, it's still inside. He pulls it out once the shockwave's done. So, does this do enough damage? And Big Mom's, we do see a sign of concern in Big Mom's face. And I guess Law does shambles to get him out. And we see the buildings in the side just collapse in on Big Mom. And this, to me, will stall Big Mom if this is is if she's gonna be drawing all the metals and structures around her, this potentially will stall out Big Mom. Not permanently, but it will stall her out. And also, we have not seen Big Mom's full power potential, so that's that. But the good part is awakening. The plot hole is, how long has Law had his awakening? There's no way he had his awakening in Dressrosa. Period. He would have used it. So it probably happened after Dressrosa, because Law was pushed to the limit with his Devil Fruit power. He even stated at one point that it's gonna cost him. He like shaved off years of his some of his lifespan to use some of his abilities. So he probably after Dressrosa reached awakening. So that shouldn't be a problem, but it's not really stated when, and that's the problem. As for Kid, who knows? It doesn't really matter, because we don't know much about Kid, so there is no plot hole with him. It's just Law. So what's happening here? I don't think they're gonna do that much damage to Big Mom. I really want to see Big Mom, Kid, Law, and Yamato versus Big Mom. Would be a better fight, and I would like to see the dynamic happening. Anyway, I think the whole Kinemon just doesn't make this a good chapter, and this all awakening thing is pretty good, and it also means that Luffy's probably gonna use awakening, or just Gear 5th, and I wonder if we're gonna see Kaido use awakening, because we've never seen a mythical zone use awakening, so he probably will use awakening. Other than that, the whole this awakening thing from Kid and Law, pretty good. Everything else, the Apu thing, and it hits a nail on the coffin. The Kinemon stuff in Kanjuro is atrocious. Other than that, a meh chapter. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace out and have a nice day.